There's this 4% encounter that you can find at the beginning of Emerald Kaizo in Pellberg Woods. As you might expect, Illumise's stats are underwhelming at best. However, you might know about this little-known, insignificant move called Encore that it learns pretty fairly on. A good Illumise, in my opinion, is one of the best encounters in Emerald Kaizo, and completely invalidates the entirety of Brawley's team, which is one of the most RNG-dependent fights in the entire game. And, on Watson, it's a much-needed Ampharos counter that shuts down in his tracks, since Pokemon like Lantern can't counter and a Sunflower Sweep is unreliable. And much like Brawley, a fast enough Illumise can outspeed and counter as many of Flannery's Pokemon as at once until it physically cannot, and when it runs out of PP. Illumise, unlike many of your encounters in early game, can hold itself up against late game fights, and it can still be used as a pivot. And if your Illumise is exceptional, there are some amazing things you could pull off, like countering Tyranitar, Arcanine, and especially Entei, which is the most difficult mon to fight reliably. And even on the Elite Four, if you want to get ahead of yourself, Illumise can be a compatible team member on that too. You can stall the ghost types on Phoebe and Sydney, and run a few errands on the rest. But Illumise isn't necessarily unique in learning Encore. Ledian, Togetic, Wobbuffet, Slacking, Minun, Plusle, Swalot, and Walrein, they all know Encore, yet none of them are known for using Encore effectively or to the same extent. So why Illumise? Now, for one thing, Illumise's base stat of 85 is good. Watson's badge boost allows it with good IVs to outspeed many Pokemon at base 100 or higher, which is the most popular speed tier. However, there are other Encore users. Plusle and Minun have a higher speed tab of 95, and Ledian has the same base stat as Illumise. So what makes it so much more powerful than the others? Well, for one, the electric type in terms of defense is extremely bad in Emerald Kaizo, with just 3 resistances, on top of the fact that Plusle and Minun's horrible defense stat of base 40 makes flying and Seal Encores extremely difficult to maintain. There's just not a lot you can Encore with Plusle and Minun. Meanwhile, being a bug type is actually a huge advantage defensively in Emerald Kaizo. The abundance of moves like Earthquake, Solar Beam, and Superpower give Illumise a greater chance of finding a perfect switch-in, and a lot of these typings are on gym leaders or gym leaders with coverage that can contribute to the Illumise resistances. Well then what about Ledian? It has the same speed, has Encore, and probably better defensive typing than it. So what makes Ledian just not as good as Illumise? Another edge that Illumise has is that not only does it get Encore, but it gets a synergy of Encore with other extremely rare support moves that only weak Pokemon like Illumise can get. Moves like Charm, Seismic Toss, Thunder Wave, and Wish really add onto itself and the team, but most importantly it gets Moonlight. Being able to heal itself allows Illumise to endure multiple Pokemon in a single fight and outlast heavy damage dealers, on top of all these moves being primarily learned before Watson and Brawley to perform those tactics. No other Encore user besides Illumise has a reliable way of gaining HP, so Ledian, while it does get some defensive moves, are not necessarily game-breaking, and you could buy those TMs upon entering the Lily Cove department store. So with that being said, what exactly can Illumise do with this synergy? Being able to Encore a Pokemon means that while the enemy is in this such a vulnerable state, you have a ton of tools to put yourself in a better position. On Glacier, for example, you can freely use Wish on the Encored or PP stalled opponent to heal a Pokemon that typically have no traditional way of attaining recovery, like Ludicolo here to counter more Pokemon such as Glalie in sync with others like Swampert, or on Drake, you can use a combination of Flash and Charm while encoring Earthquake with Illumise, allowing you to severely stunt physical attackers, which can put yourself in a great position to set up on Sweep, and makes setup significantly less risky as opposed to using traditional methods to put yourself. If you'd like to see a video that I made in context of how a Mimic Sweep could work, I have that video linked above. In conclusion, Illumise is a Pokemon with support moves like none other. The creator of this hack, Sinister Hooded Figure, often moved a lot of these abusable moves to physically weak Pokemon like Illumise, but regardless, what little you give to the players allows them to work around with it. So next time you find that Illumise in Pillbrook Woods, get excited. has a lot more potential than you might think.